Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my stepdad financially after my mom passed, even though I'm well off? This is hard to write, but here goes. I, 34 female, lost my mom about a year ago. She had cancer, and watching her go through that was one of the hardest things I've ever dealt with. I loved her more than anything, and I still can't wrap my head around the fact she's gone. The grief has been unreal. Growing up, it was just me and her, until I was 13 when she married my stepdad, Frank. From the start, Frank made it clear he didn't want anything to do with me. He wasn't outright abusive, but the man made my life hell in other ways. He treated me like I was an unwanted guest in my own home. He didn't want to hear me, see me, or be bothered by me in any way. He never spoke to me unless it was to give me orders. Once I hit 14, he pretty much turned me into the household maid. I had to clean everything, do all the cooking, take care of the yard, run errands, you name it. He'd sit in his chair, watch TV, and treat me like his own personal servant. If I didn't do things fast enough for to his liking, he'd criticize me. Say things like, "You're so useless. No wonder your dad left." Yeah, real nice, right? My mom always defended him, saying he worked hard and just tired. I loved her, but I'll never understand why she let him treat me like that. I moved out the second I turned 18 and barely looked back. Over the years, I've had next to no relationship with Frank. I only ever saw him because of my mom. Fast forward to a year ago when my mom passed, and now Frank's in serious financial trouble. Apparently, he didn't plan for anything, and they were barely scraping by. Now he's blowing up my phone, saying that since I'm doing well, I work in marketing and have done pretty well for myself, I should help him out with bills. He keeps talking about how I'm family and my mom would want me to take care of him. Here's where I might be the a-hole. I flat out told him no. I don't feel like I owe him anything. He made my life a nightmare and is only talking to me now because he wants something. I was nothing but an inconvenience to him growing up, and now he suddenly expects me to be the dutiful daughter and bail him out? I don't think so. But now he's calling me selfish and saying I'm dishonoring my mom's memory by abandoning him like this. I feel like he's trying to manipulate me, but then again, maybe I'm being too cold-hearted. He was married to my mom for 20 years, and I know she loved him. She would probably want me to help him, but I just can't bring myself to do it. Every time I think about giving him money, I get this anger inside me thinking about how he treated me when I was a kid. So am I the a-hole for refusing to help out my stepdad financially, even though I can afford to? Or am I being justified in cutting him off after everything he put me through? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You are not obligated to help someone who mistreated you, even if they were married to your mom. Agreed. Frank treated Opie terribly growing up, and now he's only reaching out because he's desperate. You were not obligated to help someone who actively made your life miserable. Thank you. I was a servant a long time ago. Those times are gone. Don't even entertain this guy in his whinging. He made it clear you're not family to him, so take him at his word and block his number. She would probably want me to help him, but I just can't bring myself to do it. If that were the case, your mother should have had him treat you much better. I'm very sorry for the loss of your mother, but no, you are not the a-hole here. Basically, he brought this on himself by his negative behavior. Not the a-hole. This sounds like her mom made excuses for his awful behavior and didn't protect Opie. Not the a-hole. Block him and move on. I don't want to bash a deceased person, but her mom did not do well by her. I can't help but feel if she even did anything even minor for him, he'd show no damn appreciation toward her, and he probably would feel even more entitled. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to take my sister's kids to school after they've been bullying my son? A bit of background. My sister Sarah and her 2 kids, Jake 14 male and Mia 12 female, recently moved in with us after Sarah went through a rough divorce. She's been staying with us for about 6 months now, and we've tried to be as accommodating as possible. My wife Laura and I have 1 son, Ethan 13 male. At first, everything was fine, and the kids got along okay. Over the last few months, however, Jake and Mia have been making Ethan's life miserable. They've been teasing him constantly, calling him names and even going through his things when we're not around. It's been especially bad for Ethan because he's more introverted and quiet. He's come to us multiple times, upset about things they've said or done, and I've tried addressing it with Sarah. Her response has been pretty dismissive. It's just normal sibling stuff. They'll grow out of it. The tipping point came last week when Ethan told me that Jake had taken his school project, something he'd spent days working on, and ruined it by drawing all over it. Ethan was in tears. When I confronted Jake, he laughed it off like it was a joke. Sarah didn't seem to think it was a big deal and said Ethan was being too sensitive. Laura was furious but tried to stay calm. I finally had enough and told Sarah that if she couldn't keep her kids in check, I wasn't going to keep doing favors, like driving them to school every day. I've been taking all the kids to school since Sarah moved in because her car broke down and she hasn't been able to get it fixed. It's about a 20-minute detour for me, and I was happy to do it at first. But after all of this, I told her it was too much, and she needed to figure it out on her own. Now Sarah's upset, saying I'm punishing her and her kids over something small, and it's not fair for me to leave her stranded. She even went as far as to say I was being petty and holding a grudge against the kids. She thinks I'm overreacting, and should just let it go for the sake of family harmony. My wife is 100% on my side, and thinks Sarah's kids have been out of line for months. But now Sarah's giving me the cold shoulder and telling other family members that I'm being unreasonable. So am I the a-hole for refusing to drive them to school anymore? Overall, not the a-hole, but you only stated that you wouldn't drive them to school? Why the hell haven't you kicked them out? They are bullying your son. By ruining his school project, they're messing with his grades. What if that project is the difference between a pass and a fail? They are bullying him in his own home. Kick them out. And anyone who tells you you're being horrible and unfair, ask them when are they taking her in then. You're right. I think it is about time someone else takes them on as their burden. I've been doing this for long enough now, and she doesn't even seem as though she's trying hard to fix her situation. Why would she try? She's living, I assume, rent-free or at least reduced? You didn't say whether she's helping out financially at all. If she's not, why would she want to give up a free space to live with someone who is willing to ferry her kids around? Does she pay gas? I would have kicked her out too just to protect my son. This is crazy. OP's son is being bullied at home and OP needs to do something. I kind of want to go OP is the a-hole, but not for refusing to drive the kids to school, but for not kicking out the abusive kids and the sister. I think you're the a-hole because you're imposing a penalty that doesn't do anything and doesn't mean anything. Refusing to drive her kids while they still live in the house is going to amp up hostilities. You need to tell Sarah that she has 1 week to get out. The end. You're right. I'm going to have to clear her out ASAP. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not changing the name chosen for my son because my sister who struggled to have a child wants it for hers? I'm 26 female, due in a couple of weeks with my first baby, a boy. And I already know when he'll be born because I have a C-section scheduled for medical reasons. So this is set in stone. We chose to name him after my husband's dad who died when he was a baby. This was something very important to him and therefore was important to me. This was decided early in my pregnancy but didn't get announced until my baby shower some weeks ago. We only let people know then because some wanted to personalize their gifts to us or add additional gifts with a name. My oldest sister, 36 female, is due late December/early January. This is also her first child after 12 years of infertility and struggling to conceive. Our middle sister, 34 female, was the first to have kids and has 5 now. She's also done having kids. For my oldest sister, watching our middle sister have kids so easily really hurt her. And I know their relationship struggled because my middle sister joked that she would carry a baby for my oldest sister and her husband, and she didn't say it as a joke at first. It was really hurtful to her. So there's some family tension there. I was disgusted by what our middle sister did too. They were always closest since they were only 2 years apart. I was never very close to either because of the bigger age gap. My oldest sister and I grew closer with our pregnancies, and she had told me she had a boy named picked out, but not a girl one yet because they had changed their mind about the girl's name they'd chosen. She asked if she could tell me when they decided on a girl name. I said of course. They found out they were having a boy a few days before my shower, but she decided to wait to tell me the name until after because she didn't want to take the focus off me. But then my son's name was announced, and it was the same name as the one they had chosen. She asked me afterward if we could find another name. She said she really wants her son to have his own special name, and they've had this name chosen for 10 years. I told her this is my late father-in-law's name and means so much to my husband. She told me she really doesn't want the cousins sharing a name. I said it could be worse. She left in tears and she went quiet for a while. But after a couple of weeks, she asked me again to please consider another name. I let my husband know what was going on, and we worked out something to say together. And then I communicated that we would not change the name. When she pushed, I pointed out my son would be born first, so it wasn't me stealing the name. She made it very clear how hurt she is, and how she feels like both me and our middle sister failed to understand all she's been through and lack compassion for her. I feel awful. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Cousins can have the same name. I assume they'll have different middle names and different last names. You can use first name, middle name, or first name, last name to distinguish them if they're together and you need to call to one of them. But realistically, how often will that happen? Or Sally's Ethan and Janny's Ethan if relatives are discussing the cousins. It's not that hard. Yes, different middle names for sure, and different last names. You're not the a-hole. Don't spend another minute worrying about it. Use the name you and your husband love and carefully chose. Info. How is offering to be a surrogate mother hurtful? But not the a-hole. Nobody owns a name, and cousins with the same name just happens. She will have to deal with it. It was a joke. She said it so it sounded serious. Got our oldest sister looking hopeful and then admitted it was a joke and she wouldn't do it. Oh, that is horrible. Yes, she did not sound like she was joking either. Had us all believing her, to then really show how little empathy she had. She was laughing it off too, like it was nothing. Last story. Am I the a-hole for demanding that my niece, or her parents, pay me back for the hundreds of dollars of perfume she stole from me? Note, I'm not involving the police, suing anyone, etc. Please don't try to argue with me about this or convince me why I should. I have a perfume collection that I started when I was a teenager slinging burritos as my first job. I have over 400 bottles at this point. I take great pride in my collection and I use it. I'm also happy to give people decants, samples, of most of my bottles. Let them sample a spray or two, give some bottles as gifts, etc. What I have a huge freaking issue with is my 17-year-old niece coming into my home under the guise of walking my dog, decanting bottles on her own, and selling the samples to her little friends. She thinks that because I have so many bottles, I wouldn't notice some missing or getting massive dents in them. Well, little Miss Entrepreneur failed to realize that her private Instagram wasn't friends only or whatever. And I saw each and every freaking story with each prize and sample she had. I tallied everything up and got a pretty good estimate based on cost per ounce. Thankfully, she mostly picked the TikTok famous perfumes and didn't go for the most rare niche perfumes. She did snatch an entire 2.5-ounce bottle of a certain brand though, which runs $300+ at most retailers, as well as full bottles of perfumes you can get at Sephora. Petty or not, I printed out the entire list of what she'd taken, price estimate, and handed it off to my sister, her mom. I said that I expect to be paid back, in full. And of course, her freaking sneaky little butt is never allowed in my home again. My sister got super pissy with me, going on about how my niece is just a kid. Kids make mistakes, etc. I said yes, kids make mistakes, and this is a great way for my niece to learn from hers. Their argument is that now the money she was going to use for a car has to go towards paying me back. I don't care. She is lucky that I have no interest in involving the police, small claims, or any of that. But am I the a-hole? Because she is a teenager. She's just a kid who created a successful business enterprise selling stolen property. Not the a-hole. This is part of what bugs me. If she had come to me and asked me if she could sell a handful of her friends some samples, I might have entertained the idea. I know getting samples for niche perfumes is a hassle. But nope, she screwed herself out of that one. This is a great way to learn. You are so right. This is a character-building core memory if she has consequences, not the a-hole by any measure. Next person might not let her off so easily. She has to learn the lesson now so it sticks. She might get juvie, community service, and Maid to pay, and it won't permanently affect her future. She gets away with this and pulls a similar stunt with someone else in a year or so, and she might end up in jail and with a record. You should be cruel to be kind. Not the a-hole. I can see from the fact that her mom considers a 17-year-old just a kid, as if she were a 5-year-old who stole a cookie before dinner, has caused her to act very entitled. She made a series of decisions to steal from you and profit from it. And she's either just a kid when she's stealing pricey scents, or she's an almost adult saving up for a car. Can't have it both ways on your dime. You'll be teaching her a better lesson than her mom bothered to. This teen is lucky the lesson only involves having to pay back what she stole instead of having charges pressed. OP's being nicer about this than a lot of people would. 17 is way too old to excuse stealing. If she tries this in less than a year with the wrong person, she will end up with a criminal record for the rest of her adult life. Info: since you didn't remove the physical bottles from your property, is it not considered theft? Is that why you won't involve the court or the law? No, she did take several full bottles. But it's not about that. It's about the consequences for other members of my family who have done nothing wrong. Info: what consequences would there be for other family members, and why? Life-altering consequences. I'm not comfortable sharing more than that. The negative outweighs the positive here. That makes zero sense. She stole so she should face consequences. Or are you more concerned with the embarrassment? Or family being embarrassed?
Am I the a-hole for telling my daughters that I made a mistake by choosing to stay in their lives? My ex-wife and I got divorced 14 years ago. It was due to infidelity on her part. Our daughters were 9 and 7 at the time. The divorce was messy. She moved in with her affair partner and ended up with primary custody, and I got every other weekend. It was a disaster from the very start, as the kids did not respond well to the changes. I tried to have a good co-parenting thing going, but little did I know that my daughters were being turned against me. They would be angry and sullen each time they would visit and refuse to talk about what was wrong. Tantrums, screaming, cursing became the norm, and that's when they were not totally withdrawn. They were being fed complete lies about me, how I didn't love them, how I was going to leave them for another family, etc. It didn't improve with time, and in their teens they costed me 2 very serious relationships with just the most venomous behavior. They didn't even want to visit me anymore, but I insisted that they do. I don't know if that was a mistake or not, because they pretty much cut me off when they turned 18, and the only time they'd visit was to ask for money. I thought things would improve as they got older and saw through all the lies, but sadly it hasn't. I think it never will, and I'm just done at this point. At the start of this year, they'd come to my house to ask for more money. When I refused, they yelled at me again and said they wished I wasn't their father. Something broke inside me, and I told them I wished I had just walked away from them. That if I hadn't stayed in their lives, maybe I would have had a natural shot at a happy life. Maybe they would have too. They looked shocked, and then screamed and cried and left. Haven't seen them since. No visits, no phone calls, nothing. It fills me with incredible guilt, but I almost feel relieved that they're not around anymore. It was a terrible thing to say, but I can't help but feel like there was truth in it. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Tragic, but not the a-hole. I wish you can find something that gives you happiness, though. No visits, no phone calls, nothing. It fills me with incredible guilt, but I almost feel relieved that they're not around anymore. I'd say not carrying that weight around is cause for happiness. Not the a-hole. Not really happiness. Relief, maybe. Happiness will take some work, I suspect. Not the a-hole. No doubt very common. I used to think fathers that walk away were deadbeats. Now I know most don't stand a chance if the mother decides to demonize him. My mom tried to do that with us. Just subtle things to make us dislike our dad. Thing is, I'm autistic, and I don't do subtle, so it never worked on me. Haha, joke's on you, Mom. I'm also on the spectrum and don't do subtle. The older I get, the more I understand subtleties, but I still make people spell things out, so I don't get totally off base. Not day hole. There's only so much crap and mistreatment a person can take, even if it is from their children. Be glad and enjoy your newfound freedom. Get back into dating and stop feeling guilty. You stuck around when others would have walked along back. You did nothing wrong. Your crazy ex filled them with poison, but now it seems your girls are ending up like her. I doubt they will see the light anytime soon. You did the best you can. Be proud. Not day hall. Sorry you've gone through this. Maybe it would help you move on by writing out your story / your perspective. Cold hard truths throughout, responsibilities for any of your own actions, etc. After it's done, then you can decide if you want to give them a copy, or try once to get together and ask them to sit while you read it to them, or even just feel better about giving up and walking away. Could even ensure they get a copy when you pass. Again, so sorry. Or just write and tell them that no matter what, you will always love them. You're sorry that they turned away from you after the divorce, and there was nothing you could do to stop the lies. And that if they truly ever want a fresh start, to let you know. I believe that if you go ahead and make that gesture, it will allow you to not close the door, but to walk on past it instead and start taking care of yourself. You need some healing, man. Not the a-hole, of course. Next story. Am I the a-hole for embarrassing my aunt? I'm child-free, relationship-free, and intimacy-free. This is important for the story. I have no problems with people who have these things, and will fully support people struggling with fertility issues as much as my body autonomy will allow. The only thing I won't do is to be a surrogate. Me, 29 female, and my parents were at a family party, and my nosy Aunt Caroline asked, "So when are you going to get married and have kids?" It's no secret that I want neither, because I want to be happy on my terms. When I reminded her that I wanted neither, she went off that I wasn't a real woman if I didn't do these things, but I just rolled my eyes having heard it all before. Then came this gem. What about all the other women who can't have kids? Like your Aunt Jessie. You're so selfish. Aunt Jessie and her husband have tried to get pregnant for years, and after a few failed rounds of IVF, she just decided to have a hysterectomy and not deal with it anymore. Her husband has been supportive of her throughout the whole thing, and 20 years later is still going strong. I just laughed, pulled out my phone and called Jessie, who lives a few states away, and asked her about what she thought of child-free women. That's their business. Why are you asking? Caroline said to think about you when I say I don't want kids, and that I'm selfish and should pity people like you. This earned a gasp from the rest of the party, and Caroline going ghost white. Jessie was having none of it. Jesus freaking Christ, Caroline. Let the woman be happy. She's the only person to help me after my surgery while you said you had better things to do. Shut the hell up and let me speak for myself. I thanked Jessie and hung up. Caroline was so humiliated she was crying, and she just left the party. The younger people thought it was much overdue that Caroline got put in her place, but the older ones thought I was being petty. So, am I the a-hole for embarrassing my aunt? Now for the top comments. Well, well, well. If it isn't the consequences of her own actions making her cry. Not the a-hole, and quite frankly, well done you for shooting that crap down. I do have a son whom I love very much, but my sister hates kids. It's life, and people should learn to mind their own dang business. Have 4 niblets. 12 female, 7 male, 7 male, and 5 male. The girl is my best friend's kid. The boys are my brothers. And I would gladly die so none of them would ever be sad. Sounds like you were the perfect aunt. Kudos for not letting your family bull for your choices. Not a a-hole. And how on earth would it help Jess if you did have kids? For Pete's sake. I'm so glad I'm past menopause and no longer get these questions myself. I always wondered why people say that. Like me having kids can make her feel worse about herself. I wouldn't put it past this woman to say something like, well, if you're not using your uterus, you should at least loan it out to someone who will. That is the one thing I refuse to do, be a surrogate mother. I can understand wanting kids of your own, but it's my body that will be going through major changes. Not at a-hole. It has previously been the case that family just let people be horrible because that is how they are. I think it's bullcrap. Not at a-hole. Assuming you knew your Aunt Jessie's stance and weren't going to hurt her by involving her, all you did was call someone out on hurtful misinformation. It sounds like this is not a new or unusual occurrence based on Jessie's reaction. Your Aunt Caroline needs to learn to think before she speaks, and to just stay silent on a host of topics including someone's personal choices. I knew. She's the first one I told when I was 16, and she didn't write me off. That's your choice, sweetheart. If that's how you want to live, I'm behind you 100%. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my dad out of my apartment after he threw out my food? I, female 26, moved from my parents after I turned 18. My relationship with them, especially my mom, was terrible at the time, but over the years we managed to fix it, more or less. I visit them 2 to 3 times per year, and once in a while one of them comes to my place. Recently it was my dad, male 51, who was visiting me. In my late teens and early 20s, I was suffering from an eating disorder. Actually, one of the reasons why I moved was because my parents didn't understand it was a real problem. After meeting that right psychologist, I'm mostly okay. I'm trying to eat healthy and actually have lots of fun with preparing meals for myself. My kitchen is always full of vegetables, fruits, sources of healthy fat like fishes or poultry meat, etc. Nonetheless, I'm still getting nervous when I have to eat unhealthy meals for too long. I'm working on it. For my parents, real food must be deeply fried with a ton of salt, or at least be a fast food. When my dad came to me, the plan was for him to stay a week. He had to make his own breakfast, or work morning shift, but I was going to make dinners and suppers for both of us. Right after seeing my kitchen, and then after first meal I cooked for him, I prepared pasta with chicken and zucchini. He started complaining. He said it's no wonder I look so malnourished if I'm eating this way. I have been maintaining the correct weight for the last 4 years, but for him, correct weight is when somebody's at least slightly chubby. Then he said he wants real food while he's staying at my apartment. I told him where the nearest grocery shop is, and that he can buy whatever he wants. I'm eating healthy, but I don't really care what he does eat. I made a supper. He didn't complain anymore, so I decided the problem is solved. The next day I came back from work and found that he threw out all my food he decided unsuitable, and instead bought pre-cooked food, tons of red meat and sausages, full bag of sweets and chips, and, for some reason, few kilos of potatoes. I started to cry. I don't earn a lot, and big part of my earnings is spent on food, but he told me it's for my own good, since evidently I'm still not on my right mind. He was referring to my previous eating disorder, and should stop being so fuzzy and eat like a normal person. I packed all food he bought in bags, carried them in his luggage to the corridor, and told him to get out of my house. The train to my hometown leaves every hour or 2, so I was sure he won't spend the night at the station. He called me an entitled witch, but eventually left. My dad told the whole family what happened, and most of them say I'm overreacting and I'm heartless because I kicked my own father out. My mom told me neither she nor dad will contact me again until I apologize. Taking care of my ED took me a few years, and even now I'm not fully out of the woods. I don't want to lose my balance again because of my dad's tantrums, but I also don't want my parents out of my life. Should I apologize to him? Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. He was mistreating you, so you protected yourself. Look at your dad's behavior when you want to know why you have an eating disorder. My mom told me neither she nor dad will contact me again until I apologize. Do not do that. He needs to apologize, not you. But you're better off without these horrible a-holes anyway. Opie thinks this is a problem. This is not a problem. This is the opposite of a problem. The problem just solves itself. Keep it that way. Opie shouldn't talk to either of them until they pay back for the food with interest. Not the a-hole. Not in the slightest. If your parents really wanted to help you, they would try to educate themselves about ED, and they had plenty of opportunities in the last 8 years. Also, how dare he throw out food that you bought in your home, with your own money? The fact that he's trying to excuse his behavior by commenting on Opie's past eating disorder is beyond repair. I would genuinely never talk to him again if that was my dad. Not the a-hole. Definitely not the a-hole. He comes to your house and tells you that your healthy diet is bad, then throws out a bunch of food you'd obviously spent money on. He could have easily bought that food for himself without throwing all of your food out. He just decided to be a major a-hole. You had every right to kick him out. Absolutely not an a-hole. This is what threw it completely over the line. Throwing out your food to try to force you to eat the way he wants you to, when he could have just gotten whatever garbage he wanted and left your stuff alone. I give Opie a standing ovation for standing up for herself and kicking him out immediately. Never apologize for protecting yourself that way. He could have set you back years. I personally would not put any additional effort into maintaining a relationship with them. It sounds as if they bring nothing but bad feelings. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my stepfather that he isn't my dad after he bought me a $3,200 gift? I'm 20 female and my dad passed away 6 years ago, and my mother remarried less than a year later. It was a horrible experience, and at the time I didn't know how to manage my feelings. I never liked the man she married, and kept my distance over the years. However, he began buying my siblings and I lavish gifts from the start. My siblings loved the new lifestyle, while I moved out as soon as I could. Fast forward to the present. I'm financially independent and live by myself. My siblings live at their house and I don't see them often. A couple of days ago, my mother and her husband had a pre-anniversary dinner, and once again he had a bunch of gifts for all of us. He bought me a gift worth $3,200, the most expensive one out of all of them. He said that he hoped that we can work towards mending our relationship. My mother kept asking me if I like it, and even told me to say thank you. There was a lot of pressure, and quite frankly it was irritating. So I basically told him that it's a waste of money, that it's irresponsible and stupid to spend that much on a gift for someone who doesn't even care about you. And I told him that he's not my dad, and should stop acting like these gestures will make a difference. Absolute chaos ensued. My mother screamed at me and told me to get out. My siblings were pissed too, and called me a spoiled brat amongst other things. They said that I'm always being cuddled by our stepfather, and that I don't even deserve anything nice. Over the last few days, I've been called immature, petty, obnoxious, ungrateful, disrespectful, cruel, attention-seeking, etc. My mother even said that my attitude is completely unattractive to men, and that I'll be forever single if I continue being so heartless. So, am I the a-hole? Yikes. You're the a-hole. Sounds like you took all of your frustrations from your dad's death and your mom moving on too quick, in your opinion, out on this poor guy. You're not obligated to like him, and you definitely shouldn't be pressured to treat him like a new father. But couldn't you at least treat him like a human being? I'm sorry, but a person who comes into the life of a grieving child and tries to buy his way into a relationship isn't exactly innocent. I would say not the a-hole. He made a choice to give the gift, and everyone around was pressuring her to thank him. He didn't intend to give a heartfelt gift, but rather put her on the spot. I think I didn't know how to manage my feelings is a good place to start. It sounds like you haven't gotten over the death of your father, or how you feel like everyone else in your life has replaced him with your stepfather. Have you been to therapy for any of this? I'm sorry that you are going through this, and it is still so painful. Gentle, everyone sucks here. You're 20, and it's time for you to take care of yourself and your emotions, and not let all the hurt of this continue to hurt the people around you. They're allowed to be happy and love your stepfather. You are allowed to have your feelings, but making a point to demean him and be disrespectful at every turn isn't going to be helpful. And it seems no one has reached out to help you. They have been really crappy since the latest incident. Again, I'm sorry for your loss. Take care. Thanks a lot. I've never been to therapy, but we'll start next month. You're the a-hole kinda. I imagine losing a parent at 14 is devastating, and the feeling that he is trying to replace your father from everyone is awful. He likely thinks that gifts are a way to show that he cares and wants a relationship. You have shown that you don't respond to this, so he should stop and find another way of trying to connect. You don't have to be all in, but being cordial shows respect to your mom and family who does love him. He never has to be your dad, but he is a part of your family's life, so not being a jerk is important. If you haven't gone through counseling of some sort to work through some of these issues, I think it may be very beneficial. There is clearly a lot of pain, but being mean to people is only going to leave you alone in the end. Am I the a-hole for banning half-brother from a wedding? My husband, 31 male and I, 29 female, got married civilly last year and will, COVID permitting, be having our religious ceremony and reception in October of this year. All parties will be vaccinated and the wedding will be socially distanced. Don't worry. Here is the issue. My father is coming from overseas to come to my wedding and walk me down the aisle. He is insisting on bringing his son, 9 male, with him for almost 2 months. I have asked him not to for many reasons. For some background, my parents are still legally married but separated, and he expects to bring his son, who is not my mother's child, to stay with my mom in the house that is still in his name. Second off, this child was conceived while my father was having an affair in our home country, and nobody knew about the kid until my dad surprised us one day with a picture of him. Basically, my mom was ambushed and was expected to deal with it because she is financially dependent on my father. Now, I have met the kids and I have no problem with my half-siblings at all. They're kids for Pete's sake. I mean, I know he is my half-brother, but it's weird because he isn't really a brother to me, if that makes sense. He lives in another country and I didn't grow up with him, but I truly harbor no ill feelings for the kids. Children are innocent and should never have to bear the sins of their parents. But my mom always told my father, do whatever you want, but don't bring your crap to my door. This, in my opinion, is him bringing the crap to the door, then smearing it on the door and smashing the rest in my mom's face. Why should my mom have to deal with her husband's love child who I barely know running around at her daughter's wedding? Yes, it is me and my husband's day, but she is my mom and the spine that holds my life together. In my opinion, it's her day too, just in a different sense. I stand with my mom because my dad's being a tool. Quite frankly, in the month leading up to the wedding, I will be bloody busy with last-minute stuff and have no time to entertain a kid. But I would be lying if I didn't say my number one reason is the blatant disrespect of my mother, who is an awesome mom, and quite possibly the best grandmother on the face of the earth. I have tried so hard to kindly explain to my father why his kid shouldn't come, and I have highlighted all the cons for my half-brother, like missing school, no kids to play with, different language and country, and my dad won't be able to properly care for him. Again, old immigrant male mentality. I love my father dearly, but he is thick-headed and wants to do whatever the hell he wants. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for giving my father the ultimatum of either come alone or don't come and mom will walk me down the aisle? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Honestly, why not have your mom walk you down the aisle to begin with? Your father isn't exactly the shining example of the sanctity of marriage. If father brings his affair child to stay in his wife's home, he should not have the honor of walking Opie down the aisle. Not the a-hole. I don't want you to bring the child born of your cheating on my mom to my wedding is a perfectly reasonable request. Not the a-hole. Wow. It's not just about having the kid at the wedding. For me, it's more about wanting to stay in the same house as your mom for 2 months. Even if he went alone, I'm sure your mom is not exactly looking forward to sharing a house with him for that long. Put your foot down. Your mom doesn't deserve that, and your dad is being totally entitled. Not the a-hole. This goes far beyond a Reddit thread. If you were going to ban the child, I would also ban the dad. Sounds like he made his own bed when he decided to be unfaithful. Why would you even want that kind of energy or juju in your wedding? Not to mention being walked down the aisle by a man who is as unfaithful as that. His family, but really? Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to go to my brother's wedding if my son can't go? Some backstory. My brother's 30 male, soon-to-be wife Tara, 26 female, went to the same high school as me. She was 1 grade below me, but we all knew each other. I, 27 male, have a 5-year-old son with an ex-girlfriend who also went to school with us. My ex and my brother's girlfriend hated each other. They were on the same drill team and, I don't know, were jealous of each other. It was some old BS petty high school rivalry. Then I guess it got bad because they were both crushing on the same guy, and he got with my ex after he rejected Tara. I got with my ex in college. It was a brief thing. We broke up right after my son Jason was born. He's with me full-time and my ex is in the picture sometimes, but not that much. I found out over a year ago my brother was in a relationship with Tara. And now they're engaged and going to get married in November. Haven't been around Tara much because I'm busy with my own life. When invitations went out, my brother called me. He said Tara didn't like Jason being there at their wedding. They've never met before because he's the son of my ex. She just doesn't like the idea of her sworn enemy's son being at her wedding. I didn't think he was serious because that was all years ago and we are, adults now. My ex isn't even in our lives, so it's not like she'll be there. I kind of got mad at my brother that he'd be cool with his own nephew not being at his wedding when all of my other siblings are bringing their kids. My brother pleaded me to go along with this because he wants her to be happy on their special day. So I said, you know what? Fine. But if my son isn't allowed at the wedding, then I won't be going either. Now my brother is the one mad at me for turning this into a big deal because he wants his family there. But he's just caught between a rock and a hard place. My parents agree she's being ridiculous and are berating my brother. My other siblings think I should have just agreed and not turned this whole thing into a bigger drama. So I'm on the fence about how I handled things here. If it was a no-kids wedding, then I'd get that. And yeah, it is their special day. But my son is the only one not allowed to be there. And I don't feel right with excluding him over something childish that was 10 years ago. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. If it was a no-kids event, then I would say no biggie. But since kids are allowed, the bride is being the a-hole. It's not your son's fault that the bride has something against his mother. Good on you for standing up for your son. I know this might be a slippery slope fallacy, but if you allow it for the wedding, what else is she going to exclude your son from? Just doesn't make much sense on her end. I don't get what the big deal is either. Or why should be hung up on something that happened when we were teenagers? Especially when my son had absolutely nothing to do with it. She wants to take her anger out on your kid because it's the closest she'll get even on your ex. It's gross. Not to mention she's getting even over losing another guy who isn't her current groom to her enemy. And groom is okay with this? Not today, Hall. Ask him what the long-term plan is. Is he planning on cutting his nephew out of his life forever due to his fiancée/wife's childhood feud with the child's practically non-existent mother? Does this mean she will make him or expect you to miss family events/Christmas/birthdays, etc. if your child is there? Where are the boundaries that she expects to be around your son? Because believe me, not attending the wedding is just the first step. Your brother needs to think long and hard about this situation and what it will really mean for his future relationships with his family. This, not today, Hall. She is hating a child for something he has no involvement in or control over. Now my brother is the one mad at me for turning this into a big deal because he wants his family there. Reread that. He wants his family there, but he doesn't want your son there because Tara will be upset. So your son is not part of the family. Also, if you let this slide this one time, what about next time? What about all the family gatherings and holidays? What if their defenses, this is her big day, so it's only going to happen once? Can anyone absolutely guarantee that? What if Tara starts threatening your brother and say she won't go because Jason's there? What if they have kids and Tara is holding the kids back because Jason's there? Can anyone be sure that will not and will never happen? If Tara is treating a 5-year-old child like that, she's not going to get better. Stand up for your child. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for outing my aunt about her secret first marriage that she was hiding from her kids and husband? Backstory. I, 28 male, was looking through some old photos at my mother's house a couple years ago and discovered a wedding picture of my aunt, 50s female, and a strange man I'd never met before, who is not the uncle I know. My mother told me about my aunt's first marriage, that she's kept hidden from the kids because she's very religious. The husband's name was Adam, fake name, relevant for later. My cousin, 34 female, is the daughter of my aunt with a current husband. She's pregnant again, and they're picking a girl and a boy's name because they want to be surprised. My cousin wants to name the baby Adam if it's a boy. My aunt has been saying very negative things about the name, how much she hates it, and how my cousin is ruining everything by naming her first possible grandson that name. She has kept going on and on. My cousin and her husband really loved a name, and it would be a tribute to her husband's dad who passed on a couple years ago. My cousin and I had a playdate with our children at my mother's house, and she was talking about this whole situation. She confided in me about how upset she is with everything since she's so close to her mom, how she's fallen in love with the name, and how bewildered she is and why her mom hates the name. This is where I might be the a-hole. When she told me the name, it clicked right away, and I told her it was because that was her mom's first husband's name. My cousin said her dad was her mom's only husband, and she knows this because her mom said she was a virgin when she married. I was going to leave it at that, but my cousin looked at me funny and asked why I would lie. How if someone lies about little things, then you can't really trust them. I told her I wasn't lying, and she doubled down saying I was. So I told her to wait, and I dug through my mother's photos and found a wedding picture. I showed it to my cousin and told her she should apologize because I wasn't lying. This was her first husband, and his name was Adam. She went into a tailspin of how much her mother has lied, and I told her the only liar here was her mom, not me. My cousin was not happy about that. My cousin confronted her mother, and now my aunt is furious with me and my mother for keeping the evidence. But my uncle and my cousin is furious at my aunt. Am I the a-hole? I was just defending my honor, and my aunt didn't make me promise to keep her secret. Now for the top comments. So your aunt lied and upset a bunch of people who are not you, and she and all of those people are blaming you? These people are the reason you only have family reunions every 20 years. Not the a-hole. My cousin confronted her mother, and now my aunt is furious with me and my mother for keeping the evidence. My uncle and my cousin are furious at my aunt. No one is angry at Opie except the aunt, unless there was a line I failed to read. Everyone sucks here. You knew what you were doing, and the gleeful delivery of your mom's a liar not me reflects poorly on you. But open secrets like this in families are straight garbage. I grew up in a family with them and got myself into trouble a few times by not knowing who the secrets were kept from. So I'm straight up with people. I can't keep up with secrets, so if you want to keep something secret, keep me out of it. Yeah, but Opie was kept out of it. It's not like the aunt confided in Opie and then pressured him to keep it a secret. Opie stumbled across information that had nothing to do with him. Nobody knew he knows, and he could have very easily avoided being mixed up in this. But Opie just couldn't keep the juicy gossip to himself. 'Cause honestly, that's really what it was, wasn't it? Telling cousin didn't solve anything or help anyone, just created a bunch of drama for aunt, uncle, and pregnant cousin who really has enough on her plate. Oof, this was a wild ride, man. Everyone sucks here. You're undoubtedly an a-hole, not because you let it slip that your aunt is a liar, but because of this. I told her the only liar here was her mom, not me. You took it way too personal. You should have let it go at that. Your cousin probably would have come around. If not, that's her loss. You created family drama unnecessarily. It's none of your business if your aunt is a master liar. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to babysit my ex's kids? Some background. Ex cheated on me when our sons were 6 and 4, now 12 and 10. Left me for the other woman who got pregnant, and that baby ended up being stillborn. Things were already tense between us, but then they wanted to keep the boys for an indefinite period of time so she could grieve with them around. I said no. She told me she needed her boys around. Now, take into account that she was in their lives 5-ish months at that point and was already claiming them as hers. They never got over my refusal, and the fact that when my ex had to leave for a month working after, that I wouldn't let her see the boys in that time, or the fact I didn't show concern for the two of them. Apparently, I was supposed to be unaffected by what my ex and this other woman did. Things have not changed since. We don't communicate all that much, which is how I like it. The boys have a rocky relationship with them because they tried to force them to call her mom. Anyway, they now have 2 other kids, and her mom died. She grew up in another country, and her family's there. They want to travel for the funeral and ask me to keep their kids because it would apparently be more complicated quarantining and stuff with children. I said no. I do not want to look after their children. I am not helping them out. They are pissed with me, saying ex's family all said no too, and they have nobody who will watch the kids, and she doesn't deserve to go through this alone. I told them I have no responsibility to help them, and no desire to have their kids in my home for 2+ weeks, depending on how long it takes them to go for the funeral and make it back. Ex's wife called me an a-hole, and told me I am devoid of empathy. I told her not to expect favors from the woman whose husband she had an affair with. A friend of mine suggested I should do it for the bonding time between kids. That she knows if the boys don't really like dads, they probably haven't done much bonding with their half-siblings. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Holy hell, the audacity to ask you. Absolutely not the a-hole. If my ex asked me this, I'd be laughing so hard I'd wet myself. Not to mention she at one point wanted Opie's kids to be there like emotional support animals. I understand her grief over her lost child, but she literally was what broke up their parents' relationship and has no right to ask that of them. Not the a-hole, Opie. The entitlement of your ex and his wife is beyond belief. Given the history and past interactions, they are delusional to think you owe them to help them out in anything, let alone this huge imposition. The relationship between your kids and their half-siblings is your ex's responsibility, not yours in any way. You have said all the right things. Please ignore them if they try to pressure you again. Not the a-hole. I wonder if the half-siblings even have a good relationship with Opie's kids, considering what the ex and the other woman did. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. She said that you are an a-hole and that you are devoid of empathy? If she wants to see that person, she should go to the bathroom and look in the mirror. Their kids, their problem. Neither of them have anyone that will help them. You know why? Because nobody wants to help a bunch of a-holes. They're lucky that they found each other. I would understand a weekend, but 2 weeks? Just stay calm and keep your voice down when you talk to them. It's super easy to scream when you're dealing with entitled lunatics. You seem to set your boundaries clearly, and they are not unreasonable. Am I the a-hole for firmly telling my husband I want to cook for his friend again? For context, my husband's male 33 best friend, male 37 Dale, lost his wife to cancer this past March. Ever since, I've been asked by my husband to consider sending hot homemade meals to his suffering friend, and I've started including Dale in the meals I cook. It started off as 1 meal a week, then gradually became 3 to 5 meals a week. Then my husband started coming with requests from his friend Dale wanting me to cook certain meals that he preferred. I wasn't so fine with it, as I already had not a lot of time to spend in the kitchen, I'm a nurse, and work has become very exhausting. As well as money we spend to buy ingredients we need to cook meals for Dale. Dale would send me texts or emails thanking me for the meals I sent him, but at the same time kept sending suggestions and new ways to improve my cooking. Like how his wife made X meal crispier or how X meal should have more sauce. I gotta say, I started feeling irritated, especially since Dale kept texting all the time. And even when I don't respond, he texts my husband who asks me to please be more patient since this is a phase and will pass. A few days ago, I was in the middle of my shift at 11 a.m. when Dale sends me a text, but I was too busy in my unit I didn't even look at it. I work in a big hospital, so the pressure is big. I got off work at 9 p.m. to find my husband at home looking upset. I asked him, and he told me his friend Dale texted me early in the morning to tell me he was having guests over and wanted me to cook him a meal so he could serve it to them. But I didn't respond and kept him hanging, forcing him to order food at the last minute. I was taken aback. I didn't know why he'd come to me expecting that I cook for his guests, knowing that I had work. My husband said his friend was just asking, but I ignored him and made him feel like a burden. I told him A, I was busy working, and B, I'm not obligated to cook for Dale, much less his guests that I never met. My husband said that Dale would have said okay if I said no, but he thinks that I work too much if I can't take a minute to look at a text he sent. Dale said that. It's funny because my job's paying for the food Dale's been eating since March. My husband said I put Dale in an awkward position and should apologize and clear the air, but I told him that I'm no longer cooking for his friend. Not even weekly meals, period. Since this is the type of treatment I get and being treated like a maid or a personal cook, then I'm not cooking for Dale again. Ever. I said this, then I went upstairs. My husband said I overreacted and was being insensitive toward his widower friend, and should have had more grace because his friend is struggling himself in this hard time. My husband said he didn't know I had this cruel side of me, and asked me to put myself in Dale's shoes to understand that he's struggling. Additional info. A. Dale doesn't work, and my husband says it's rude to ask Dale to pay for food we send him when I complain about the stuff I'm having to pay for to cook. B. My husband says Dale already has other friends helping out, but not with cooking, as they are single and none of them know how to cook just like my husband. C. Dale thinks I work too much. How does that even concern him? I have no idea. Dale and I never really get along, but I keep it civil since he's my husband's best friend and is struggling to adapt as a widower, so I try to be graceful and understanding. My husband goes over to his house daily to help with whatever he can, so it's not just me helping, but because my husband doesn't cook. He thinks Dale deserves to have a hot meal or 2 weeklies. Cooking is not a problem for me if it doesn't interrupt work. I cooked for my brother many times when our mother passed away, but it's how Dale kept texting all the time. My husband works from home and takes care of household chores except cooking. Now for the top comments. Not Day Hall. Texting you at work to cook for his friend's friends? That's nuts. If someone needs to cook for his friend, your husband can always do the cooking, especially if you are working. You don't have any magic skills in the kitchen that he can't develop if he thinks it is important that someone from your family cook for his friend. I'd also draw a line at having his friend over for more than 1 meal a week. Any more than that, and your husband needs to prepare the meal, because it is, as you say, a lot of work. It is also really intrusive to have a guest over that many times a week. What about your privacy? If your husband thinks this cooking is no big deal, he can do it. If it is too big of a deal for him, it is too big of a deal for you. On the day of 2, Opie didn't put Dale in an awkward position. He put himself in an awkward position. Absolutely ludicrous on the part of both Dale and the husband. OMG, yeah. I'm a planner, and this day of expectation would drive me absolutely nuts. Like, dude, at least have the grace to ask 24 plus hours in advance. Not Dale, Opie. Dale doesn't work and deserves a hot meal once or twice a week? Okay, so he can order hot takeout, or get a job, or spend his plentiful downtime teaching himself how to cook, which would be beneficial and a good distraction strategy for coping with grief. Why doesn't he work in the first place? Why isn't your husband learn to cook if he feels so strongly about this? Not Day Hall, but your problem is not Dale, but your husband. Theoretically, it's nice that he wants to be there for his friend in a hard time, but it seems he's very inconsiderate towards you and your time. If Opie's husband wanted to support Dale after his loss, then maybe Opie's husband should have done the freaking cooking instead of forcing it on Opie. Apparently, both Opie's husband and Dale's other friends don't know how to cook, because we all know that recipes are all written in some language indecipherable to men. For Pete's sake, as a grown adult, cooking is a basic life skill. If you don't know how to, learn. Don't just force your wife to cook for you and all your friends in the few hours she has off work. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for inviting my 29 male girlfriend 28 female on an expensive vacation and expecting her to pay all of her share? I make a lot more than her. Hello. My girlfriend, myself, my parents, and my brother and his wife all went on vacation in another country a week ago. My brother and I were the ones who did most of the planning of the itinerary, although we did ask everyone else for input. For background, I make around $150,000 as an IT consultant. My girlfriend is a teacher making $45,000. My parents are pretty affluent, as well as my brother and sister-in-law. My girlfriend knew this trip was coming up and took on a second job waitressing on the weekends for several months to get ready for it. We have always split things 50-50 in the 2 years we have been together. There were a few times on vacation when she did not go on outings with us, wine tasting / scuba diving / etc. She also would only eat 2 meals a day, simply stating that she was on a budget. My family does favor more high-end, expensive places. My parents thought it was very strange that she only eats 2 meals a day, although normally she eats 3. When we got home, I asked her why she skipped out on several of the outings and only ate 2 meals a day. I mentioned how I heard her stomach growling one night and said I was concerned about her having an eating disorder. She got teary-eyed and said that 3 meals a day wasn't physically feasible for her. And neither were the outings that she chose not to go on. She went on 3 out of 6 outings. She said she was not expecting everything to cost so much, and she was overwhelmed. She also said she doesn't know if this is going to work long term if she is expected to go on vacations like that with people who make so much more than her. I feel bad that I did not pick up on her discomfort sooner. But we did agree to split everything 50-50, and I don't know why she agreed to come if the cost was an issue. You're the a-hole. Dude, come on. Your girlfriend had to take a second job to keep up with your family. You heard her stomach growl. You didn't think she may not have the cash? God, you're not the brightest, are you? You make over 100,000 more than her. Don't even treat her to a holiday? Yeah, it's not going to work. You're blind to your girlfriend struggling. Help her. Opie makes me pretty angry. He gets to save and have enough money to spend on whatever, whenever he wants, while his girlfriend is struggling just to be able to afford her share of things. Yes, going 50-50 might have worked out in the beginning of their relationship, but when the income disparity is that big, you need to adjust the agreement. Why should she be the one to live up to his desires when he so clearly doesn't care about hers? You're the a-hole, Opie. Just reading your post again, I don't think you actually care about your girlfriend at all. You're the a-hole 100%. She wants because she loves your stupid butt. She worked a second job and went hungry to be with you and your family. Maybe you and your family should have some empathy and consider that not everyone is making 6 figures. Teachers are drastically underpaid for their education and often have to take a second job. Public servants who teach children are devalued, and in this case, her own boyfriend and his family couldn't care less that she was making huge sacrifices to attend. Your job is to be a good partner. You failed. Sorry, you're the a-hole. I feel for her. You'd been together 2 years. It sounds like to her this was an opportunity to get to know your family. She sacrificed a lot just to afford to come. You then watch her go hungry on a trip with your family? I mean, you don't need to pay for all her costs. But could you not have helped a bit to make sure she at least eats regularly, given that she worked 2 jobs earning a lot less than you for this? Next story is titled, Would I be the a-hole if I refused to help pay for my brother's wedding? Here's some backstory. My 20-male brother, 35, has a long history of nearly getting married then pulling out the last minute. It's the same story each time. He'll introduce a girl to the family when they start getting serious, and tell us that they'll be getting married in a few months. My parents will go to meet her parents, and the wedding preparations usually commence at this point. When the wedding is like a month or 2 away, he'll pull out of the whole thing over a fight or something. This has happened at least 8 times over the years. The reason he keeps pulling out is apparently over him not having enough money saved for the whole thing. Now this is confusing because he's been in full-time work since he was 18, has his own place, and pretty nice Mercedes car. The issue at hand is that he's brought another girl to the family. It is apparently serious this time. The wedding is a month away, and things are getting hectic. My mom is going around hounding all my siblings to chip in and pay off the wedding costs, seeing as my brother has no savings and is relying on us to bail him out. I was added to a family group chat dedicated to helping him pay off the money. Each one of my siblings was told to pay £1,000 by next month. I have been receiving non-stop phone calls from family asking when I will pay my share of the money, and this has taken a toll on my mental health. I currently work full-time and earn around £400 weekly, and I pay around £550 a month to my parents for rent and groceries. This is the second job I've ever had, and I've just recently started to learn how to save money and spend wisely. Paying £1,000 would put a serious dent in my basically non-existent savings. My family's also very toxic and mentally abusive, and there has been many times I have really needed help. Not money, just someone to talk to or ask for advice, and only my big sister was there for me. My mom has even gone the extremes of telling my siblings they were forbidden from sending me any money when I was broke and stuck in a different country. I might be the a-hole because I'm from a culture where family helps each other no matter what, and everyone expects me to pay the money. He's also my brother at the end of the day. So would I be the a-hole if I refuse to help out my brother? Edit. I just want to clarify my brother isn't the one asking people to pay for him. He actually hasn't talked to me about the wedding at all, and we're on pretty good terms right now. My mom is the one doing most of the fundraising and stuff. Now for the comments. There has been many times I have really needed help. Not money, just someone to talk to or ask for advice. And only my big sister was there for me. My mom has even gone the extremes of telling my siblings they were forbidden from sending me any money when I was broke and stuck in a different country. And this. Am I to be the a-hole because I'm from a culture where family helps each other no matter what? Does not go together. Not the a-hole. It's like the rules don't apply to me, but I'm expected to follow them. There are a lot of things about your family's behavior that makes me think it's probably not in your best interest to be relying on them or being in situations where they can pressure you into doing what they want. Your brother's an idiot, but I feel bad for him. If your parents are pressuring him into meeting someone and starting a family the same way they're pressuring you to pay for his wedding, it's no wonder he keeps canceling the wedding last minute. It's not about money, it's about him not wanting to get married. That's so true. Living in their household gives them the opportunity to try to manipulate me into things. I'm trying to move out very soon though. Not day hall. Your brother is 35 years old, in the middle of his working life, and you've just started. He doesn't need help to pay for his wedding. The fact that he's previously pulled out of weddings at the last minute is just an additional reason not to trust that he won't pull out this time. If it's different girls, the wedding costs are not the reason he's previously cancelled, but they may be the reason he now can't afford a wedding. When you plan a big wedding then cancel, you don't get all the money back. That's the thing. I really can't afford to give out money right now, and my job isn't really a steady one, so I have to save for a rainy day. Now for the last story, am I the a-hole for getting upset that my girlfriend's sister keeps inviting herself into our home? Hi guys, I've been struggling with this issue recently and looking to see if I'm being an a-hole about it. I have been in a relationship with my amazing girlfriend for over 5 years. We have only recently moved into our first home together and have both been loving the experience and freedom. The issue I have been having recently is that since we have moved into our new home, it feels like my girlfriend's sister is constantly inviting herself over. For a bit of reference, myself and my girlfriend are in our mid-20s and her sister is mid-30s, so all adults here. There was a point earlier this year where her sister would come around roughly 3 times a week for a few hours at a time, whilst we were both working from home. She would also bring her 6-year-old son at times, which has been difficult if her son has a tantrum. Kids will be kids, but preferably not when working. My girlfriend is aware that it does get on my nerves how often it happens. We have never argued about it. However, she has seen my mood drop when it happens. I've told her it can feel like being suffocated at times. However, she is close to her sister, and I'm afraid to touch the subject at times. Her sister invited herself over to stay the night with her son just last week. I didn't know about this, and it turned out my girlfriend has been pretending to be ill so that she wouldn't come over. I feel terrible, almost as if I'm turning her against her sister by accident. Anyway, she's invited herself for dinner this week, so that will be fun. Am I the a-hole? I just like my own personal space and feel it's being invaded slightly. Not the a-hole. Talk with your girlfriend about this, and bring up that you want to set boundaries regarding people inviting themselves over and visiting. I wouldn't say you're corrupting your girlfriend because it seems that she's uncomfortable about all this as well. It's a pretty extreme reaction to just fake being sick to prevent someone from coming over, so I think she isn't as okay with it herself. Also, maybe this is just me, but I've probably never had a friend or family member come to our house unannounced. Even in situations where they are just in the neighborhood, they phone us ahead of time. Seems like a common courtesy in my opinion, especially since you mentioned in your post that she comes when you're working and brings her kid. I think it all depends how close you are with a sibling. My brother and I would 100% come into each other's house unannounced if we were in the neighborhood, but I'd never think of doing that with either of my sisters. Great relationship, just not best friend vibes. I don't think OP is the a-hole, but I would recommend OP and girlfriend sit down and talk about a compromise with girlfriend's sister because some ground rules seem like they need to be put in place. And to my knowledge, OP doesn't even have a clue where his girlfriend head is at. Not the a-hole, but I'm afraid your girlfriend needs to grow some spine and tell her sister honestly what she thinks. And the sister herself is pretty a-hole for just invading your space with a son like this. Not the a-hole. 3 times a week is a lot. 3 times a week when the people are working from home and bringing a child is too much. You should have a conversation with your girlfriend's sister since she won't. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom I am successful despite her, not thanks to her parenting? For context, I, 31 male, have a brother, Paul, 33 male, who is a screw-up. He's a felon, breaking into people's homes to steal valuables. And in general, Paul has no work ethic, no drive to improve, no moral compass. He's rude, cruel, and uneducated. I, on the other hand, have a PhD from my country's top university. And I started my own company, which is now employing 5 people full-time plus myself and my significant other. Our lives, our mother, Mary, 63 years old, favored Paul strongly. The greasy wheels get the grease principle. I could bring home perfect grades, and Paul all failing grades besides one barely passing grade, and Mom would fall over herself congratulating Paul and buying him a new iPod, while my grades barely get me a nod of acknowledgement. I worked jobs after school ended summer, only for my salaries to be stolen by Paul to buy weed, and Mom always gave him a pass. Our mother is a very warm woman, and I can tell that she wanted to celebrate even the tiniest achievement of Paul's to encourage him, and she didn't have the heart to punish/discipline either me or my brother. But in the end, it screwed over both Paul and me. Paul was taught that Mom will always bail him out, and that stealing is consequence-free, until the actual police was involved and not just our mom. I have been slowly unraveling with my therapist all the ways in which being essentially wallpaper my whole childhood led me to having attachment issues, intense anxiety, abysmally low self-worth, and an unhealthy habit to both bury myself in work and always feel like a failure no matter how much I accomplish. Then Mom called me today to invite me to a big party to celebrate Paul getting a job. It's unskilled, in retail. By now, I fully expect Paul to be fired, or just decide to stop showing up less than 1 week in. I told Mom no, because we live in different cities and it's not worth celebrating that mediocrity. It led to a heated conversation, and eventually her telling me that I need to give back because I'm prosperous. I shot back that I work to earn all I have, and with a mother like her, it was an uphill battle. She told me she always supported me, and I told her what I typed above, and hung up angry. She texted me, "I'm sorry you feel that way and that I'm still welcome to Paul's party." I've been pacing and restless. Was I an a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. It sounds like you reached your limit, and you're trying to set better boundaries for your own mental well-being. Definitely discuss with your therapist how you're feeling about what you said. Maybe they can give you a suggestion of how to address your mother in the future. I will. Therapy's Friday and it's gonna bother me until then, but I will absolutely address it with my therapist. If you haven't already, I suggest emailing your therapist what happened ahead of time, so they know what you want to address at a session, and or writing out what happened. It can help you relieve feelings and make sure you remember what you wanted to bring up. Hope the session goes well and helps you. Not stay home. "I'm sorry you feel that way" is a BS answer. You feel that way because of her neglect. And you're right. Celebrating him getting a retail job that you believe he'll lose in a short time is meaningless. If anything, further contact with either your mother or Paul will encourage them to start asking for things. She's going to expect you to allow your brother to bleed you dry just like she did. I think you're better off cutting both these people entirely loose. Not stay home. Your standards are higher and it would benefit you to stay away and visit Mom and the family on a different day when they aren't celebrating Paul. It'll put you in a bad mood while that's going on. I've been quietly trying to avoid seeing Mom when Paul is around, but it's hard because he still lives under her roof, and the distance means that each travel to see Mom is a tall affair lasting days. I rarely see her these days, and the pandemic just worsened what was already happening. Next story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for telling my 24 male twin sister 24 female that she no longer has a brother?" So I had a fiancé 24 female and I just knew she was the woman I'd spend my life with. She was great in every way. Her and my sister clicked greatly and they became best friends, which was huge for me because my sister and I were best friends as well. So I'd go on double dates with her and her now husband. I found out my fiancé was cheating on me and blew up on her. She cried and said the usual stuff, but I was destroyed and called off our engagement and broke up with her. She ended up getting in a relationship with her affair partner, which stands to this day. Afterwards, before I blocked my ex and everything as I simply forgot, I saw her post on Facebook a picture of her new boyfriend happily hanging out with my sister and her then fiancé. I got angry at my sister and told her I thought it was wrong for her to do that. I know that she's a grown woman, but I thought that she would be mad at her too, especially since we are so close. I mean, we are twins. She tried to explain to me that she loves me more than anyone, but that she cherishes her friendship with my ex and didn't want to let either of us go. I ignored her after that and she called me. We went back and forth, her trying to plead with me and me angrily refusing to see her point of view. I then told her, have fun with your new friendship. Don't contact me again. I'm done with you. And then blocked her and my ex and everything. Since then, I moved from our old apartment and have gotten a new one and changed my number. My father and a few trusted friends have this info and have been instructed not to give it to my sister. My father had been telling me that my sister had been distraught and wanting to talk to me, but I was pretty adamant that I didn't want to. He obliged. Then she called me on a new number and told me she was getting married and that she would love for me to be there. I was ecstatic at first, but then I remembered my ex had asked if she and her new boyfriend would be there, to which she replied that she was going to be a bridesmaid and that the boyfriend would be there. I then told her that as of now, we are both only children. A little harsh, but I was angry. I hung up the phone and blocked the number. They are married now, but my dad tells me that she's visibly distressed and that he's afraid it will take a toll on her marriage. I don't want this to happen, but I am in no way over any of this. I still feel betrayed twice. I don't really want to see her at all. My biggest thing is that when she was cheated on by her college boyfriend, who I became friends with, I scolded him and comforted her. But when I get heartbroken by my fiancé and soon-to-be wife, she feels like it's okay to mingle with her and the guy who helped break us up. It's as if I don't matter. Although I love her to death, I feel a lot of hatred towards her right now. So, am I the a-hole for telling her that we are only children from now on and completely shutting her out of my life? Look, while it's true that you do not control her and who she's friends with, you control yourself and your actions. You asked her to give up her friendship with someone who betrayed you. She refused. You decided that you didn't want her in your life anymore. The condition you've laid for her to be in your life is that she give up your ex. She doesn't want to. Clearly, she values that relationship than her relationship with you. Either that or she's expecting you to come around to her way of thinking. As long as you stick to your guns and don't go around harassing your sister or ex, I think you're not the a-hole. She's allowed to make her choices, but then so are you. I feel like that's what it comes down to. Sister had to make a choice and doesn't want to live with the consequences. Also, don't be swayed by your father's report about your sister being visibly distressed and is worried that it will have repercussions for her marriage. Anything that happens will be a direct result of her own decisions to value her friendship with your ex-fiancé over you. You certainly do not owe anything to her, much less your forgiveness in order to save her marriage or your relationship to each other. She made her own bed, and she can lie in it. Sister didn't want to let either of us go. And when she had to pick, she didn't pick you. But she wants to make amends? How would that work? She just wants to have her cake and eat it too. Not stay home. Also, your dad said that she's visibly distressed and that he's afraid it will take a toll on her marriage. How so? Unless she cheats on her significant other like her BFF did to you. If I had to guess, the husband was an OP side about all this and the sister ignored him to get her way. Not an a-hole. The amount of people who truly think OP's an a-hole is astonishing. Dude's life gets nuked, and you all are like, get over it. She can gloss over his heartbreak, but when he does it, he's in the wrong? So much for empathy. So many fakers out here. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to go on a vacation with my family due to my bratty nieces also being invited? The people invited on a vacation. My parents, 48 female/52 male. My pregnant sister, 25 female, her husband, 29 male, and their daughter, 6 female/4 female. Myself, 23 male. My sister, 21 female. My parents planned a family vacation for us from December 26 to January 1. They rented a cottage upstate with enough room for all of us. I don't want to go if my nieces will be there. I know I sound like a horrible uncle, but there's a reason for it. My sister/brother-in-law are earth parent types. My nieces were born at home with only sister, brother-in-law, and a midwife, who doesn't have any medical background or credentials present. They literally let my nieces do whatever they want. For meals, my nieces are allowed to choose what they eat. So if they want ice cream or cookies, that's what they get. My sister/brother-in-law won't make them eat anything they don't want to. They aren't sending my nieces to school. I thought they meant homeschooling, but they are letting my nieces decide if and when they want to learn something. My sister calls it unschool. Neither can count past 10. They don't always get the letters of the alphabet right and neither can write their own name. They're more interested in the tablet or watching stuff online. I don't even know how this is legal, but I looked it up and it's here. My nieces choose their own bedtime, so they can stay up all night. They sleep with my sister/brother-in-law and can't sleep without their parents there, so all their sleep schedules are messed up. They can't stand to be away from sister to the point they follow her to the bathroom. My sister can't even go to the store without them or there's a tantrum. They are glued to her. My brother-in-law can get away with a few hours. One time we went skating, and it was just cold enough to be slightly uncomfortable. My niece didn't want to wear a coat, and my sister/brother-in-law didn't make her. They said she would experience the natural consequences of her actions, but she was 3 at the time. They've never been to a doctor. One of them purposely broke a neighbor's window, and my sister/brother-in-law don't do forced apologies, so niece didn't have to apologize to the neighbor. One of my nieces threw a tantrum because I wouldn't give her my coffee. My sister/brother-in-law made more and gave it to her and said they can have whatever they want, and I should have given her mine. It's hard enough for a few hours. I can't take a week in an isolated cottage with a single satellite TV, no internet, no cell phone reception. The cottage has a landline phone, and cold weather with only one vehicle for all of us. If my nieces weren't going, I would love something like this though. My work always closes between Christmas and New Year's, so I can't say I'm working. At Thanksgiving, I told my parents I have no plans before they ask. I declined without saying why, and upset was an understatement at my parents' reaction. They are pressuring me to go because everyone else said yes. Does it make me the a-hole for declining? They're not happy. Now for the comments. Not only should you not go, you should tell them exactly why. Leaving that part out is the mistake. Tell them, stay home, have a nice vacation, the end. Not stay home. Let them experience the natural consequences of their actions. Yeah, they're setting their kids up for failure. Shaking my head. Not stay home. Dude, imagine not sending your kids to school, and then also not teaching them skills and raising them to be addicted to their phones at a young age. I feel so bad for these kids. Info, why were your parents so upset? Do they think that the girl's behavior is okay, or do they simply want every one of you to be miserable together? My parents don't seem to be bothered by my nieces at all. They're upset because they wanted this to be family time together. If my nieces weren't there, I would love something like this. I think they're hurt because I'm the only one who declined and my work is closed. And they know I don't have prior plans, so there's no reason in their minds. Not stay home. That sounds like a terrible situation to be stuck in. That also sounds like child mistreatment. Those kids deserve medical care and proper schooling, and they are being set up for failure when they enter adult society. I literally can't believe the people who do this to their children. In my opinion, it is extremely abusive. Denying children any stability at all is a truly terrible thing to do. These are not going to be healthy or capable adults in any way, even before the fact that they literally have no education or social skills. I seriously hope state governments step in and make this illegal and start cracking down at checking records. I'm not opposed to properly done homeschool, but it seems like most people now aren't doing it correctly at all. They just stick their kids in front of a screen for 2 hours a day and leave it at that. I don't understand how you can do that to a human. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not carrying on a tradition my family started with my step-family? My mom died 8 years ago. She had me, 17 female, my sisters 14 female, 12 female, and my brothers 13 male, 11 male, with my dad. Dad is remarried. His wife has 2 kids of her own, 10 female and 9 female, and together they have 2, 3 male and 1 female. When I was born, Mom bought me a necklace. Not a super fancy one, but something that could be customized and added to, and she added each of my siblings. And when they were born, they got them too, with all our names on them. We all have them. We all wear them. It's something special for us. A few months ago, my sisters noticed my baby brother's necklace and asked him about it. He explained it was a necklace our mom gave each of us and was a tradition we had as siblings. This brought up questions about why they and our half-siblings were never included. My dad asked me about it when he remarried, and I told him it was something I wanted to continue with the steps. He left it there. His wife did bring it up several more times, and ultimately was unhappy that I didn't want to keep it alive. Because I was always my mom's helper with them for my siblings, It was seen as changing the tradition if I didn't want to be part of it. My dad and his wife ended up getting a different thing to symbolize the blended family. But the question ultimately came back to the tradition started by my mom. My dad asked me the other day why I didn't want to continue the tradition with a step family. I told him it didn't feel right to me to continue my mom's tradition with people who are not my mom's family. He asked if that was the only reason. I admitted to him that I love my siblings more, and if I'm honest, I'm not sure love comes into the relationship I have with the steps or halves. That I don't feel very strong emotions for my step or half siblings, and I see even our future adult relationships differently. He told me he was glad I was honest. Yesterday, his wife cornered me and told me her girls are still upset we didn't keep the tradition, that they feel unaccepted, and like they're not true siblings and we're not a true family because I didn't want to do it for them. She then said my influence has my siblings feeling the five of us are more bonded to each other than with the steps and halves. She said not wanting to continue it shows that I'm okay with hurting people, and that it makes me a very cruel person. Am I the a-hole? You are not the a-hole. The necklace was a tradition with your mom, and your stepmom is never going to replace or take over the place in your heart where your love for your mom is. She has no right to try and manipulate you like this. Keep talking to your dad about how you were feeling as you navigate the situation. And I would tell stepmom that as an adult, her trying to bully 5 children who lost their mother and just want to keep her memory alive makes her a very cruel person. And a selfish a-hole. Not the a-hole. The tradition your mother started was for her children. Your stepmother's children are in no way related to your mother. Ignore her. Your decision honors your mother and is not cruel. Not the a-hole. Tell her that she's being hurtful and cruel to you. Do not let her guilt you. She's supposed to be the adult of the family, not the pouty kid who wants everything. Do speak with your dad and let him know what your stepmom is doing and how uncomfortable you feel about her.